Hey, what's up, guys? It's Underdog MLB, and welcome to my third Cubs podcast on the channel. The last time I did one of these, it was about 7 months ago when the Cubs were still in the midst of a 4-year playoff appearance streak. And then 2019 happened. This offseason is without a doubt the most crucial one of the Theo Epstein era. The Cubs are at a crossroads right now, and they're going to have to make a choice. Do they try to keep the dream of a dynasty alive and continue to compete, or are they going to tear it down again and build the foundation for a new winning team? Obviously, as a fan, I really hope they try to keep this team in contention, but as an executive, would that really be the right move for this team? First, let's talk about roster construction. Something I do want to address is that MLB teams are allowed to carry a 26th man on their roster starting next year, and there is a new pitcher limit at 13. That will be very important as it will allow for an extra bench bat. Joe Maddon always had a tendency to overwork his key players early in the year, so carrying an extra bat could help keep guys fresh for later down the stretch. But then again, this is David Ross's team now, so we'll see if he has different ideas for how to keep the top players from overuse early in the year. The starting rotation is mostly clear. Jon Lester, Yu Darvish, Kyle Hendricks, and Jose Quintana are locks at this point. The only guy to look there at is Q, who has a team option for something like $10 million. And although he has definitely not been worth Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease, he is worth the money for the team option. It would be interesting to make him available via trade and see what kind of return you could land, but unless we get an offer that blows us away, I would still keep him. That leaves one spot open for a fifth starter. Cole Hamels is set to be a free agent, taking $20 million off the books for his contract. I don't think we should re-sign him. He will be 36 next year and has not looked the same after his injury in June. He was great when we first got him, but I think the days of him as an ace pitcher are behind him. Internally, we do have some young options to explore. I don't think any of them will make the cut to start next season, but I'm still going to cover where I think they are in the development process. Adbert Alzolay made his debut last June and had a 7.30 ERA in 12 1/3 innings. He's obviously a better pitcher than that, but he does need more seasoning before I would feel comfortable with him taking them out every fifth day if we are trying to win games. I feel the same way about prospect Dwayne Underwood Jr. We do, however, have Alec Mills, who has pitched to a 3.17 ERA in 54 innings over the last 2 years and occasional spot starts and relief appearances. He may get a chance to prove himself in spring training, but I think we should still look for someone with more experience. Looking at free agents, the top 4 starting pitchers on the market by 2019 WAR are Garrett Cole, Steven Strasburg, Hyunjin Ryu, and Zach Wheeler. Jake Odorizzi was someone I was interested in signing and was just behind the first 4 guys I mentioned in WAR, but just accepted the Twins qualifying offer a couple days ago and is now not available anymore. Cole will demand a contract that is probably too expensive for our current budget. Strasburg might be intriguing, but at 31 years old, he is looking for over $25 million in AAV, which I don't think we should be paying. Ryu will turn 33 right around opening day and is just too injury prone to take a risk on. That leaves Wheeler, an above-average 29-year-old pitcher with decent career stats. It's also important to note that Wheeler has a qualifying offer attached to him. That would cost us a draft pick if we were to sign him. Wheeler has had a 3.96 ERA in 2019, slightly worse than his career average, but put up a 1.26 whip, which is better than his career average. The big stat for me with Wheeler is that his career ERA plus is 100, which means he is exactly league average. I don't want to be throwing $20+ million to a guy that is only going to be a 3 or 4 starter. Looking at the trade market, I do see an arm I am interested in, and that would be Robbie Ray of the Diamondbacks. Ray has a career ERA plus of 107, slightly better than Wheeler's. He would make $10.8 million in 2020 and become a free agent as the season's end. So he is about half as cheap as Wheeler, and with this being the final year of his contract, he would not require a huge return package from the D-backs. Ray finished 12th in the MLB last year in strikeouts, but second worst in walks. So if he can cut down on the free passes, he has potential to be an elite starter. To me, this deal makes a lot of sense for the Cubs. So my ideal opening day rotation will be Darvish, Hendricks, Ray, Lester, and Quintana. The bullpen is probably our biggest point of concern. We recently declined options of many of our relievers, most notably Brandon Morrow and David Phelps. There has been rumors that Morrow might sign a minor league contract with the team, but that would not really help us for opening day. Right now, we have, in my opinion, 3 locks for the pen in our 40-man roster. Those would be Rowan Wick, Kyle Ryan, and Craig Kimbrell. Kimbrell is definitely a question mark after an atrocious first year with the Cubs, but expecting to bounce back this year with more motivation along with a proper spring training. Brad Wick and Tyler Chatwood will likely also make the cut as our 4th and 5th relievers. Internally, we have some options like Adbert Alzolay, Justin Steele, James Norwood, Danny Holtzen, Alec Mills, and Dylan Maples. I don't think any of them will make the cut to start the year, but expect to see many of these guys on the AAA MLB shuttle frequently next season. Brandon Kintzler was very strong last year for us, and I would hope to re-sign him as a free agent this offseason. An interesting free agent to look at is Sam Dyson, who had a sub-3 ERA in 4 of the last 6 years, and a subpar second half of 2019 with Minnesota will only decrease his asking price. So I would like to see if we could pick him up. A final guy I would like to add to the bullpen is by trade. Ryan Stanek had a lights-out 2018 and had the makings of a good 2019 before being traded from the Rays to Miami. With the Marlins in rebuild mode, they would probably part with him for the right price. That brings the bullpen total up to 8. Wick, Kimbrell, Ryan, Kintzler, Chatwood, Stanek, and Dyson. Catcher, in my opinion, is a lock with Wilson Contreras and Victor Caratini. Both had above-average offensive seasons, and both have strong skills in different defensive areas. Contreras' name has been brought up a lot in trade talks the last few days, but I really think this is white noise. It just doesn't make sense to move him with top prospect Miguel Amaya still a year or 2 away from the big leagues, and Contreras' fiery playstyle and big bat is irreplaceable. I don't think finding a backup catcher is a need either, as Caratini would be a solid starting catcher option for a lot of weaker teams. Anthony Rizzo is the team leader at first. He won't be going anywhere. Chris Bryant and Javier Baez I don't think are getting traded. They're too valuable, especially if we have a chance to sign them to contract extensions. Second base is probably the only question mark in our infield. We have lots of options for the position, but none of them are very appealing. Tony Kemp is a good late-inning defensive replacement but can't hold his own in the batter's box, so I wouldn't want him starting every day. Robel Garcia has a nice story, but I don't think he'll pan out as a big leaguer. Ian Happ might improve if given regular playing time, and he can play second, but I think he'll ultimately be traded this offseason. David Bodie may have a chance to win the job, but he will have to really impress during spring training, and I don't know if we should bet on him. Addison Russell is trash. Theo should be fired if Russell is still a Cub by opening day. And then we have Daniel Descalso, who is just Daniel Descalso. Many people think Nico Hoerner is the most likely candidate for the job, given how well he played in his September stint with the big league club. However, I would prefer Hoerner to get more experience in the minors at least to start the year. He will probably end up in the majors at some point in the year, but for now I think he's better suited to get more experience in Iowa. That leads me to my ideal second baseman, Whit Merrifield. If you listen to my Cubs podcast from a year ago, you might remember that I suggested that we trade for Merrifield. Since then, all Merrifield has done is continue to rake. He led the MLB in hits for the 2nd straight year and can hold his own in the power department, going yards 16 times in 2019. Merrifield also had a combined 6 defensive runs saved between second base and the outfield this year, which leads me to another point. Merrifield can play many positions, which means we can shift him to the outfield when Hoerner is ready to take over second base. He will definitely come at a high cost, but I think we have some pieces to offer. In the outfield, things get more complicated. Jason Hayward is the only lock for a starting role. No one in their right mind would trade for him. Other options are Kyle Schwarber, Ian Happ, and Albert Almora, and in my opinion, Happ and Almora need to go. If Almora and some AA prospect can land Ryan Stanek from the Marlins, great. That's something to figure out before the non-tender deadline, so that if we know that that's not an option, we can non-tender Almora and let him become a free agent. Happ probably fetches a better return and would be used in the Merrifield deal. Schwarber has been a popular name in trade talks as well, but I would rather keep him around for at least one more year. He had career highs in home runs, batting average, and OPS in 2019, and is becoming less of a defensive liability. He also has a cannon for a throwing arm. I think he gives us more upside than he would get for us as a trade piece. For a center fielder, I would want to sign Corey Dickerson to a 2-year deal. He is by far one of the most underrated players in the MLB and is a model of consistency. In the last 6 years, Dickerson has hit above 300 4 times and has had an OPS plus of over 100 every year, which means that he has been an above average hitter every year for the last 6 years. His defense is also very good, and he has a Gold Glove from 2018. Primarily known as a left fielder, he has only logged 202 innings in center field in his entire career. However, he is a good enough defender that I think he could make the adjustment. Dickerson signed an $8.5 million contract with the Pirates last year, and I would bet we could get him for around $7 million AAV if we added in a second year to the contract. That sets our starting lineup, and the roster currently stands at 21. We have 5 bench spots open. I would pick Caratini, Bodie, and Kemp as locks for the bench. Daniel Descalso is under contract, but please, can we just DFA him already? The Cubs have been linked in the past week to 32-year-old Japanese center fielder Shogo Akiyama. He is best known for breaking the NPB record for most hits in a single season back in 2015 with 216. He is a great hitter, but scouts say he is a poor defender, and MLB trade rumors projects him to get somewhere in the 2-year, $6 million range for a contract, which is very affordable for us. I would definitely look into picking him up. For the last bench spot, I would want to target free agent outfielder Keon Broxton. He has a lot of promise and is a good defensive replacement if necessary. The only question left that I really have to address is what it would take to acquire Stanek, Ray, and Merrifield. For Stanek, it would probably take 1 or 2 mid-level prospects, as well as Almora if they would take him. I think we only have to give up 1 top prospect for Ray, and I have my eye on Cole Roederer, the Cubs' number 6 prospect. If the D-backs need more, we could throw in a couple lower-tier prospects. With 1 year left, he shouldn't be too much more expensive than that. Merrifield would require the biggest package. Happ alone wouldn't get him. The Royals would likely need 2 of our top prospects. The most likely deal would probably involve outfielder Brennan Davis and pitcher Ryan Jensen, the Cubs' 3 and 7 prospects respectively, along with Happ. So that rounds out the roster at 26. On the screen, I'm going to show all the names that I project for the opening day roster. The answer to my question from earlier is yes, I do think this team should continue to contend for a title, but only with the right moves. Obviously, all of these moves I suggested aren't going to work out exactly as I predict. These are just my plans of what I'd do if I was GM. Is this team I've assembled good enough to win the World Series? I'm not sure, but it is definitely better than last year. Let me know what you think about this team that I've made. If you disagree or have different ideas, feel free to let them in the comments section below. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you want to see this type of content on a more regular basis. I think that's going to wrap it up for me. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.